If Grace shows up, we'll put her in. Call to order. Second item is approval of the agenda.
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting, when was the last meeting? November.
Yep. They look fine to me. I move to approve that as well.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No public is there public comments? Oh, hey, Grace, sorry, we just started.
Come on.
Come on in.
We got a seat for you.
Join us.
Yeah, we've been making progress. We've approved the agenda. No, you're up here.
You're right here,
There you go.
right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Not where I want to be.
That's what happens when you get here late.
You got the gavel there.
We also put you in charge.
You got the mayor's seat.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I put it out myself too. I had a chance. Thank you so much. You're
Certainly.
welcome.
Thank you for volunteering and being here.
Anytime.
Okay, so we are actually to number 4, which is the public comments, and nobody's here. So we'll move on to 5, which is review of the proposed audit contract between the town and Martin Stearns and Associates. Basically, this is on the agenda at the Commissioners tonight to approve this, and we're scrambling to try to get this meeting, so if anybody here sees anything of concern, we can report. I'd like to be able to say, I don't know if we're on the agenda, but just say the audit committee has reviewed the contract. So the only item, and Daniel, the price is what they quoted, because I know this is the third year of a third-year contract, and I know they quoted prices, and I tried to find whichever one it was that they originally quoted. I think it was, so this is in line with what they,
Yes, and it includes, I believe, 2 or 3 major projects.
okay?
So,
I mean, the sewer station, what,
no, the single point audits for the grant funding.
Okay.
The lift station and
probably,
beach nourishment, and they added an extra one just in case, because we have to pre-audit the maximum amount, and they can't go over that amount, so.
okay,
That we don't actually spend the full contract.
okay.
Unless we receive extra grant funding for something that we didn't receive.
Okay, so this is scope for 3 grants, 3,
It's been,
It's- The fees are
up to 2 programs,
okay,
on page 7 towards the
and
end.
we're only planning on for 1, so.
okay.
Page 10 and 17 shows that. Well, no, okay, yeah, no, I was right, they did 3, because additional fees, the charges for major program and exception 2.
Okay. So the bathrooms is probably one, right, on block Q, because that's a grant.
I don't know if that one met the dollar threshold.
Okay. And then,
But it all bundles together, probably between the block Q and our whatever beach and inlet funding we've received.
okay. Oh, where do we get beach and inlet funding?
Do we have the inlet project this year or no? Is that next year?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have the list
Okay.
in front of me for what it was, but I know we had met the threshold for 2, so they added the extra 1 to be safe.
Okay, okay. And if we don't do it, we don't spend
I
it?
usually get with Christie on those, and she compiles a spreadsheet for,
Okay. So any discussion? Yes? No.
I mean, we talked about last year, this is their final year with the escalation, so. it
Yeah.
seems-
And I mean, we need to go out to bid next year, is that correct? Because this is,
yes, this is.
okay.
this is
And
clear
when
to
is
from-
that, when do we go out to bid?
We wouldn't need to do that, I mean, the earlier the better.
Okay,
The auditors are few and far between for
Okay.
for audits now.
So, I mean, we typically award in March, so we need to go out to bid December, January, so that they get responses back?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Probably shortly after the audit's over. When do they finish the audit?
When did
Like,
they?
when will they, like, for the next year? When will they finish this audit?
We are working through scheduling right now. It should be pretty similar to last year, early October.
Yeah, so probably shortly after October, you probably want to start the bid process.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I did note page 1, says the date the audit will be submitted to LGC is 12/31/25. That's like I thought it needed to be in October 30th. This is contract to audit accounts.
Where are you at?
Page 1, it's right after, let's see. You got 16 to, no, maybe I'm on the, 16 to 17, 17 to 17.
Oh,
And then the
contract,
yeah.
contract to audit the accounts. This is the actual contract. Fiscal year ending 6/30/2025. Date all will be submitted to LGC 12/31/2025.
Yeah, but I thought it was due end of October.
No, it's just within 6 months of the fiscal year end.
Okay. Okay.
You know, as a former auditor, the first thing I always go to is the limitation of liability on page 16 of 17. You agree that Martin Starnes and Associates liability, if arising out of or related to this contract and services provided herein, shall be limited to the amount of fees paid by him. That's a pretty chintzy limitation on liability. But I'll tell you what, if we could get by with that in the accounting profession, we would. I wouldn't change it for this year, but next time, you probably want to look at the limitations of liability kind of closely. And see, I don't know what the standard, I've been out of it for a while, but I don't know what the standard is, but it's certainly, wouldn't think it's one-time fee, it's oftentimes multiple fees, but nonetheless, that's the only thing I would probably, next time we look at is negotiate the limitation of liability a little bit.
And we can put that in the RFP as well.
Yeah, next time I would do that. And then the mediation provisions as well is always can be a little bit tricky, but if an audit goes wrong, you agree to mediation as opposed to a court case, and once again, that's what, that's what the auditors, that's what the auditors want, is mediation as opposed to a jury trial. But once again, that's for next time, it's not for this time at all.
Okay, so, if we're okay, Daniel, like I said, I think the plan is that the BOC meeting, say the audit committee has reviewed the contract and approves the board executing it, or approves the contract. So I think
Yeah,
that's what we're.
I'll do however you'd like to direct me on that. Because I did put a note, or I think I put a note under advisory board recommendations that we were meeting right before this meeting, so.
Yeah,
Oh, on the agenda?
I think what I would say is we find the contract acceptable and would recommend the board approve the contract as drafted.
Okay. Okay.
Daniel, how are they to work with?
We have a really good working relationship with them. They're very thorough. They've got, typically they have 3 that come down and do field work, and then they also have 2 working remotely that they're scanning stuff to while they're here.
How long are they here for field work? 2 or 3 weeks?
It's like 2 weeks initially, and then another 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay.
They do like preliminary field work and come back.
Yeah, right.
After this week.
It's a pretty reasonable price, actually, I think.
Okay, if no other comments, I think if we have a motion to,
That's my motion that
we,
we reviewed the contract, and we recommend that the board approve and sign the contract as drafted.
Second.
okay. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Okay, That's the easy stuff. Now we get to the thing we've been working on for well over a year.
What do you want to measure?
Grace, yeah, just for background, I think we literally started this as soon as I got on the audit committee, but we've historically had this 40-plus page financial report that gets posted to the website that's in the weeds, 40 pages. And we said we'd really like to get something that Daniel can present to the Board of Commissioners monthly that gives the highlights, that can be understood, so we know where we stand. And we kind of went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and basically, I kind of trumped it and said, this is something I've seen that I really like, and it's, hold on a second. It's what we've used for, a couple months since the beginning of the year or more, I think. It's graphical, it shows kind of where we stand month by month, where we stand compared to last year, and then revenues versus expenses for the major funds. So for B part, for general fund, for water sewer. As expected, some people didn't like it. Other people liked it.
Always happens.
Yeah, so I obviously like it, but I think there's always room for improvement. I've sent the emails that Tim has sent after the last meeting about, what are some key metrics, what are some key performance indicators, what are things we could be reporting. So the goal is to get reports that help the Board of Commissioners understand where we're at, anything that, probably needs a deeper dive, or kind of jumps off the page, and then ultimately then go back to those deep reports if we need to, what is it that hit this that's rippling through. My other goal is to try to have these reports align or kind of feed the audit, so that, because it just seems like when we get an audit, it's like, oh my gosh, we got all this money, we didn't know all this money was coming, or it didn't hit us until the audit says, your net position's improved by $4 million. So that's kind of one of my goals, is just to say, based on this, there shouldn't be any surprises in the audit.
Yep.
And then if there's anything that, key performance dashboards, or, whoa, we're having a problem with collections this year, or something got pushed back, what does that mean for cash flow? Items like that. So, I guess, Daniel, what's your thought on this so far? We've had it,
So far, I've gotten good feedback on this, and, I think it gives, like you say, an overview of what we do post to the website. And as far as you were mentioning, like, the surplus at the end of the year, I think adding the lines really will help picture that, because, the further apart those lines go, shows the further surplus we're gonna have at the end of the year.
And that delta between the red line and the green line, are those capital projects for the most part?
Well, in the general fund, it's all the revenue just came in. So that revenue that just came in from property taxes is basically, the revenue is gonna stay basically flat for the rest of the year, to where the expenses.
So it's gonna be a big delta that eventually squeezes down?
yeah, this green line will be basically horizontal, and then the question is, how close does this line get
Yeah,
as you come to the
Yeah.
end?
yeah. How about the other funds?
The other funds, like the water and sewer fund, which, it's tricky, like, there's a big delta right now, but then if you look at March and April of last year, you see those big expenditures, and that's debt service. So, once we hit March and April, that line's gonna get closer together.
Is part of that because we don't do kind of an intensive monthly budgeting? If you were doing monthly budgets, and you were really kind of focused on monthly budgets, you would know that debt service is in that month, right? You'd budget it for that month.
Well, we do know it's in that month.
Yeah, and you budget for that month?
We don't do a monthly
monthly budget?
budget.
Yeah.
We keep in mind that I mean, Chris is very good at keeping in mind that he can't spend all his money come July and order all these huge things because it's an enterprise fund and he's gotta wait for his revenues to come in.
Yeah.
You can't spend money you don't have.
That's the challenge for a layperson looking at it. Chris knows it,
Yes.
but Tim Thronson doesn't know it, or someone else doesn't know it, looking at that, just, that to me is probably the hard part of all of this. I mean, I'll just give you an observation. I think that as I look back on financial reports and those types of things, I think the town does a really good job with the operating expenses. It's the capital projects, I think, eventually that throw off and provide the big deltas. So if you look at the operating expenses, you budget for the year, you pretty much nail the operating budget for the most part. You guys know what it's gonna be, you've got enough experience, and the operating budget's nailed pretty well in the end. It's the capital budget that I think when you put off expenditures or those types of things, that's when you end up the year and you've got $3 million you didn't know you had because you didn't spend it on the sewer uplift station or whatever it is.
Which that can be difficult also because like what we're going through with grant funding right now.
Right,
If we get delayed on the grant funding, that delays the whole project.
Right.
The revenue's not there and the expense is in this case.
right.
But it can be flip-flopped as well.
And that's why I think it's good that you guys have that list of capital projects that you review
Yeah.
as well.
Now that you bring it up, I think we need to do a better job of, like, the SIP budget, the capital improvement plan budget, because I just know from looking at it, we haven't looked at it yet this budget year, we're still in budget meetings, but last year, I just remember, there's stuff on here that, I don't know why, new water tower, things like that, it's like, why is this on here, and some that were really close, it's like, we're supposed to do this next year, really? I mean, so, I think if we had a good capital program with funding, and, you'd see it, you'd see it.
Yeah.
Because it is exactly like you said, it's like, we canceled Block Q, so that just all
Right.
went away, and we canceled
Right,
whatever else was on there, and it
And
went
that-
all away.
Yeah, I do see the disconnect between the public and especially those projects, because a lot of times, like, whenever we do have a fund balance appropriation from a prior year, 90% of the time, or a fund balance appropriation period, 90% of the time, that's what it is. It's a project that we got the revenue last year, so it shows up as an appropriation this year because all that revenue just went to fund balance and it was supposed to go to that project, so it
Yeah.
was a fund balance appropriation, and you still have the project expense.
that to me is the biggest
Yeah.
challenge, I think, is what creates the angst and consternation amongst the commissioners and whatnot as well. I drafted a note, I sent a note to the mayor a month or two ago, and I hadn't heard back from him, that I thought that was kind of a lot of the source of the angst and the consternation over these delayed projects and quote-unquote not knowing where we were with respect to the budget and those types of things.
Well,
Can- Do you not, may I ask?
Yeah.
Do you not show it as obligated, though? I mean, if you guys voted on it in the budget at the beginning of the year, it should show as an obligation, right?
What,
Is that right?
It's budgeted, it's not encumbered. It's not encumbered
Ah.
until we sign a contract that we are going to.
Oh, because it's not encumbered. I see. That's helpful.
So
Well,
it shows in the budget line,
Right,
but
it's there.
it also, like I said, for a fund balance appropriation, if the revenue was received in the prior year, it
Got
shows
it.
up as fund balance appropriated, which looks like we've got money, we're taking from our reserves to fund
Right.
our operations, and that's not the case.
Right.
It was money that was received last year for a project that didn't happen,
Right.
Yeah.
90%.
I don't know, I mean, I know you can resolve it, but I think it's hard.
Well, to me, the challenge is, you see all this, there's a pier out there, there's some stormwater projects out there, there's whatever, we need a concert venue out there, these big ticket items,
Yeah.
and and beach nourishment, the elephant in the room. And the SIP, the capital improvement plan, I guess is what it is, it's 5 years
We stretched it out, in
to
last year.
10, or,
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we need to at least get a whole beach nourishment cycle. If we plan to do beach,
I think the beach nourishment one was 30 years, and the rest of them were, I think, on a
Okay.
10-year cycle.
but, and I don't know if you've seen them, but the top of it is where the money's coming from.
Right.
And the bottom are the projects. And a lot of them just kind of say fund balance appropriate, you know, it's not like you can
Doesn't say
say,
what it is.
we're gonna pay for the pier by using this much from fund balance and getting new debt. I mean, you can't really tick and tie, here's how we're funding this project. It's kind of like, here's all the projects and here's all the money sources and they will fund these. And, but you know, when this one goes away, you don't know.
Yeah, out any further than, really any further than 2 years, I would say that the funding side of it, of the capital plan is kind of, I wouldn't pay any
Loose.
attention to it, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Because you
and,
don't know what grants you're gonna get and what.
yeah, no, that's true. And, you know, if you're budgeting for a grant, you don't get it, then you've got a decision to make. But I do think there's room for improvement in the SIP or whatever we have that says, look, here's all these big things, a new firehouse, another one, you know, that one, you've got all these big ticket items. And you need somehow to stage them and say, here's the funding, you know, I'd like to almost, like a project level budget, you know, here's where the revenue is planning to come from, here's the expenses associated with, because right now it's just, I can't tell that, you know, until you get all the revenue sources, and then you just, it seems like you're plugging, well, we need some revenue, so we'll say
So-
we'll take it from fund balance or something.
Is that a just a question, is that a monthly budgeting thing, or do you guys want to do a capital plan that you just update every 6 months? I mean,
Well,
that's a question.
Right now, it gets updated annually as part of the budget
But
cycle.
maybe it needs to be done,
Quarterly?
yeah,
I'd
something.
do it quarterly probably if it were me.
Yeah, because if you want people to have eyes on something, it
Yeah.
is, I get what you're saying, I think you're right about it, and people aren't tracking, I'm not tracking it, I didn't track it at a meeting tonight, honestly. So I made it here, I felt good about it. So I think, yeah, I think maybe a quarterly update to the capital plan that just goes in the packet or goes on the website, is that a heavy lift? Let me ask.
No, I think that's very doable, and I really think it could be a part of even the manager's report, because they're kind of
Then you
already
could see it.
reporting on that stuff, but if it was in the
Visual.
plan where you could see, hey, this was our original plan, this is where we're at, that might be helpful. I don't know
Yeah.
how y'all feel
Yeah.
about that, but-
Particularly in these times, I think it's so critical.
Yeah.
With the issues with funding and spending and all those other
Yeah.
kinds of things, I think that's critical. And report out on it, no less than quarterly, I would think would be helpful for everybody to kind of stay on track and to track and take away some of the angst and consternation around it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in it, because, I mean, right now, it's like, we list all these projects, and it's like, how are we gonna pay for these? Are we really gonna be able to pay for these?
Yeah,
Without, you know, taxes going through the roof, or really, you know, just to be able to say, here's all the things people want, you know, new pickleball courts, the fire station, to, you know, a cement pier, to, you know, you hear them all, and it's like, all right, we're, you know, because we're gonna make a decision on the pier sometime soon, it's like, okay, here's what the number is, how are we funding that, you know, are we're gonna take out new debt, are we gonna try to do as much of it, you know, we're gonna deplete fund, you know, and if we deplete it there, then how do we pay for this, and I would really like to, I'd really like to have something like this I could throw out and say, here's all the projects, and that is on the list 5 years from now.
Right.
And our
yeah.
current plan is to, you know, pay
Correct.
for half of it with fund balance and finance the
Yeah.
rest at long-term debt or
And I think
something.
a quarterly update, and I actually agree with Tim. I mean, I work at the federal level. I think we're going to see major upheaval in grant programming, and that is
Yeah.
going to change your capital plan. Everyone's capital plan is going to be changed. So I think that you're going to need that quarterly update, because at some point, the things we've come to expect will no longer exist. And so I think that we need to be showing that to the public all along, so when that happens, you can say, and see, this is when that grant program went away.
Yep,
And we
yep,
had to make a different decision
Yep.
because the grant program went away. And we didn't want to dip into our fund balance because we need it for
yep.
hurricane recovery or whatever we need it for. So, no, I'm with you guys. I agree. I think that quarterly capital update would probably get you more what you want than our monthly, you know what I mean? Our
Well,
monthly report.
this stays, because this is
Right, you
month-to-month
need this.
operations.
Yeah.
But,
Or the monthly
per Tim's
capital.
point, you know, it's these big ticket things.
I agree.
So, like,
Yeah.
right now, honestly, there's no big ticket in this year. I mean, it was 200,000 for the pier or something like that, but, and the sewer
Right.
station was covered by the grant money.
Thank goodness.
And the bathroom's covered by the grant money. So we really don't
Which is
have a
great.
big ticket item, I don't think, in this current fiscal year.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'd track it. Yeah. Track your capital.
Yeah, that forces you
Yeah.
to make decisions too in terms of what your priorities are.
Absolutely.
And to get
First,
agreement
second,
on the
third.
priorities.
Yep.
Just to the extent you can. So you say, okay, this is our number one priority, this is how it's gonna be funded.
Right.
After we get that funded, we need to move to this, we need to move to that.
Yep,
And I think that capital.
And then have
plan
that
is a
monthly,
lot
yep.
yeah.
of the time.
And the, you know, the beach nourishment to me is the one that keeps me awake at night. 'cause
Yeah,
It's
I'm with you on
huge,
that.
you know, and you read about these towns that have no beach and no money. And it's
Yeah.
like, and if we can't count on FEMA,
Camp.
you
Not
know,
now.
and the Corps' already dumped us. So, you
Yeah.
know, and that's one that maybe doesn't show up till 10 years out, or, I mean, because we're in great shape now, but, you know, if you're gonna need $30, $40 million 10 years from now, you need to,
You have to have a plan.
you
to
gotta have a
fund
plan. You gotta have that out there. You can't just wish it
it.
away.
Reserve funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. I didn't bring, we didn't bring the SIP, but
Yeah,
it'll, we're gonna get to it soon in the budgeting process. I think maybe next. I'm not sure which budget meeting it's gonna be, but,
Yeah, I'm not, I think expenditures are next, and I don't know if the SIP is part of that.
I don't know, I don't think SIP is, but I mean, right now, what we've got is we've got kind of a line item for every project, and then you got a line item for every potential revenue source, and they tie, you know? But, it's not obvious that, you know, these things go to this line project, this things go to this line, and I don't know, maybe we need another different format for what you're talking about.
I thought I saw a format, I'll go back and look for it, but I thought I saw a format that another town used for exactly that purpose that I thought was really good. I'll see if I can find it. But there's gotta be other examples out there that others use that I think would be helpful.
And I can reach out to some of the local finance directors too and see if they have any.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And Tom, I mean, something like the water tower, you mentioned the water tower. Water tower, if it's needed at some point in time, needs to be on that schedule.
Yep.
And everybody just needs to agree that that's the second priority or that's the 12th priority.
Right.
You know,
Yep,
I mean, you'll never get everybody to agree, depending on where their interests lie, but nonetheless, you know, as a group of leaders, you all have to come to some sort of conclusion.
Correct.
well, and I think we're getting better. I mean, it was on there, I mean, it should have happened, according, if you went back and looked at a SIP from 4 years ago, it probably showed it already happening. And now I think we've done the study and we've got kind of a time frame of, I don't know, 2035, 2040 something. You know, if our water consumption goes up, we'll need it. So you can put it out there now with a little bit of support, but before it was just getting, you know, just getting dropped in there without any
Right.
business case for them or any,
And my sense was, I mean, having kind of studied the situation and looked back at the prior financials and those type of things, my sense is that the staff had a really good idea of what was there and what was gonna be spent and where the balances were, but nobody else really did. I mean, commissioners were kind of like, we trust the staff's got it, let's go.
yeah.
And, I mean, you gotta make really strategic decisions around that, I think, and to have a capital project budget like that I think will do you wonders in the end.
Yeah.
Especially going from board to board.
Yeah, and the board's gonna change priorities, another board will come on and they'll change priorities probably, but
Yeah.
at least you know what all the capital
Maybe,
projects you have
though.
out there.
You know what I mean? Maybe. I
Maybe.
mean, you know, because I think if it's laid out, maybe not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because what the need will become evident, right?
True.
And you're just gonna have to deal with the alligator close to the boat, you know, you're not gonna
Yeah.
have a choice on certain things that just
Yeah.
have to get done. So, I mean, I know there's a long list, but,
I like just getting it on the table, because I do think in a lot of situations, major capital projects, major capital expenditures were made that were never even on the set, just came out of the blue. We got an opportunity to buy this piece of land, let's buy this piece of land. It was never in the SIP, and some of those, I don't think, they just, you know,
Yeah.
used one, I'm not sure.
There was opportunity. I mean,
Pier probably
opportunity.
never was in the SIP, it just, you know.
no, the problem with saying it out loud, though, is then your price goes up, that's it.
You know what?
I said the problem with saying it out loud is that your price goes up, but those are things that the board should be talking about, opportunities, but you can't say it, though.
Well, Heather's not here, but there's very, very little we can do in
I know.
secrecy.
You could
I
say
mean, it's
it
all
over
out
me.
there, you gotta put it out there. You can't,
I know.
So, Tom, would it help if we had a recommendation from this committee to the board to make sure that, or to implement a capital budgeting process, and it's kind of an intensive capital budgeting process that includes all the projects that are relevant?
I think we got a really good handle on the projects. I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's anything out there that, I mean, hadn't been put on the table, we need
Okay.
this, we need that.
Yeah.
So I think the list, and actually, other than, you know, an actual beach nourishment project's not on the goals for this year, but saving money for one, you know, so we've got a lot of it. I think I mean, Pier's another great example where we really need to know the number, you know, so you can put a pier out there, but you
Right.
just making up numbers. So, you know, that, maybe soon we'll have a number and say, okay, this is what it's gonna be, and
Right.
what's the timing for years that'll go there, and, you know, fire station, I mean, I guess they're swags at this point, maybe you can make a swag and say,
Right.
this is what we think it'll be.
Right.
And, no, I'd love to have that kind of come together with the budgeting you know, to have that part of the, because the budget message is at the end of May, and it's got to have a SIP in it, and I'd sure love to have a better SIP, you know,
Yeah.
in
That's
it.
what I was gonna recommend too, if we could tie it into the budget meetings, I think that would be the best. But that's the time to go over it,
Yeah,
or for the board to go over it.
yeah.
Definitely send me any recommendations.
I'll see what I can find, yeah.
And like I say, I can reach out, see what I can find as well.
So, you're familiar with the reserve analysis, sometimes they're called fixed asset reserve analysis, or, you know, some of the charitable organizations that I serve on the board for, one of the fundamental issues they have is they don't put money away for fixing the church, or
Yep.
repairing the building, or whatever it is. And you have an engineer come in and say, all right, this building in 20 years is gonna need a new roof, it's gonna need a new air conditioning unit, in 7 years, it's gonna need, you know, refurbishment, whatever. And here's what you have to do, here are the costs, and here's the timeline where you're gonna spend those costs. And that's what a fixed asset reserve study does, and I think you need something similar to that, and say, here are all the projects,
Yep,
here's where we're gonna spend the money, here's all the things that need to be done, and here's where we're gonna spend the money across the years.
yep, and then the
And
funding.
it foots down, yeah, and you put the funding below it, or whatever you wanna do, for the funding below or the funding above it, or whatever you want to do, but.
Well, I think if we can tie the funding, because then if the project for whatever reason goes away, you know, we gotta do something with the funding, or if the funding goes away.
Right,
Now we gotta either push the project or steal and defer
Right.
another project.
right, marry the funding with it, that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Okay, so, I'm just thinking out loud here, how we would, because I think it's coming up, I mean, we're into March, April, May, we got, you know, the SIP is gonna happen soon. It'd be good to introduce a template that says, here's a good way to think about it. I mean, we can, you know, I can send out the last year's SIP, you probably have it, in terms of what it was, but, I think it would be good to, you know, come up with a recommendation or throw some out there and say, hey, let's think of them this way.
So, I'm just thinking about these reserve analysis, so it starts out with It starts out with a discussion of the current state of the building and then what needs to be done. So there's a discussion of what needs to be done, and then it puts a cost to it. So you might discuss the pier in terms of the pier, block Q or whatever.
Yep.
This is what needs to be done. This is when we think we're going to do these steps.
Yep.
And these are the costs associated with these steps. And then you just go year by year, 2025, 2026, 2027. The costs are going to fall here, the funding's up here. And that's a plan, and, you know, it's not, I can tell you it's not gonna fall that way. You can guarantee it's not gonna fall that way. So, you just, every quarter you look at it and say, how accurate is it? Do we need to adjust it? What do we need to do? So I think I can dig up a couple examples of that, but.
Well, my expectation, I mean, this is timely, because HDR is reporting in an hour or two. My understanding is they're gonna give us this cost, you know, this is what the cost will look like. I don't know, you know, by year or whatever, but, you know, we're talking about X millions of dollars, and it's gonna take 2 years, 3 years.
It could cost $2 million, it could cost $12 million, but is that a priority, not a priority? Where does it land in the priorities? And maybe if it costs $12 million, it's a different priority than if it's $2 million, I don't
Right.
know. But without even knowing the funding,
Well, you need to know them all then, right?
you do in the end,
Yeah.
but you can take a stab at it and
Yeah.
change things as you go. Change your budget as you go, change your view, your outlook.
Yeah,
Yeah, because no matter how well you plan, you know, something's gonna rear its head that you've gotta deal with, but at least you have it and it's transparent.
yeah, you've got a plan, you can put it out
And
there,
then you can say, when people say, I want you to do this, then you say, okay,
You're
but
gonna do this
do you
first.
like septic? You know, it's like, do you like running water?
yeah,
Because sometimes that's the choice, right? And so, you know, I think it's fair if you put it out like that, then it is, it's almost, I mean, this is a different conversation, but it's almost like now, you know, there's so many competing priorities, and they're all viewed as equal,
Yeah,
but they're not.
yeah. Right.
so everybody's got their favorite and
Exactly.
their
Well, I
job,
have my
so.
favorite, but yeah, but you know, but they're not, and so, you know, I think it's if you have it on view, you know, like Tim talked about with regularity, so it's sitting there and we know this is what it is, or the money for this nice thing that we all really wanted, but it was a nice thing, is gone away now.
Mhm.
You know, and it's visible to people, then it, you know, people don't go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole.
Quite a ways down that road. I think,
Yeah.
you know, you guys are a ways down that road. You just need to push
Put
it
it-
the rest of the way and put
Right.
numbers to it and formalize it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is iteration 2 of the budgeting process, but it seems like the capital items that are in the budget, because the first year of the capital improvement plan is actually the budget so
Right.
this will be 25, 26.
Right.
There's a lot of focus, but like this year, a lot of those weren't there, so, you know, the SIP just, let's just throw it in there somewhere. You know, it wasn't like it was, you know, you're very, very focused on this year's budget and which capital projects I'm gonna put in this year's budget and how I'm gonna pay for them.
Right.
But if it's next year, then, you know, whatever, it doesn't get the diligence, it doesn't get
Yeah.
that thought of, you know, how are we really gonna pay for this thing? 5 years from now, it's gonna cost $10 million.
A capital project budget, capital budget needs a lot more long-range attention than a operating budget.
And I don't think it gets it, because everybody's so focused on the current
Right.
year that, you know, if that's in the future, we'll just throw it out there and we'll figure out how to get the money to balance it.
Yeah,
And,
That's gonna be a harder proposition, I think, going forward.
yeah.
Uh,
It will be, but that's what's
Yeah.
necessary, I think. I mean, it'll be hard working through it.
yeah,
Be really hard working through it. Because like Mary Vale says, everybody's got, you asked me what my capital project preferences are, it's different
Right.
than anybody else's probably.
Right.
That's just the way the world works.
and as you said, when the number comes in, it's like, oh, I don't want it that much.
Yeah.
Let's, you know, that
Yeah.
changes everything. I'd love a new car, but, you know,
Exactly, but not today.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe if it's out there and a little clearer and easier for people to digest, it would
Okay.
help.
All right, so moving forward then, we'll send out the SIP as it exists. You send some examples, and then we probably should, if we're trying to get this into the budget, we probably should meet around the time that we're gonna talk about the SIP in the budget meetings. And I don't know when that is, but it's gonna be within a couple weeks.
Can I suggest that we always email Daniel or Heather, and then they email us?
Yeah.
And then that way we're not.
Yeah, no,
meeting-
yeah. I mean, the problem was that
I know.
Timothy, we'd sent it out to the whole committee,
I
and
know.
then there were new members. that-
People respond, yeah, I
Yeah.
know,
so
yes,
that-
we don't want them
was
to do
just
that.
educational note for-
Yeah, that's right.
BCC it.
No good intention goes unpunished.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Does that make sense, or what's your thoughts on,
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. Yeah, I'll get the current one sent out.
okay,
Like I say, I'll do some asking around and see what I can find. Meet again whenever. Did y'all approve a meeting schedule?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, okay.
no, we should, we should, because, the ordinance says we gotta meet at least 4 times a year, and typically it's like this one, and then
I
it's.
meant the budget meeting.
Oh, but no, we've sent in our dates, and
Okay.
Heather's Christie's working dates
Okay.
for when they'll be, but,
Well, maybe when we get those dates tied down, we can get our meeting date tied down as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because,
we-
backing in, like I said, you gotta have budget meeting in, the budget message into May, so we've only got, 2 months really to put something in there.
Well, one thing we'll need to start is a description of each project and the potential funding for the project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we can start that without,
And my other suggestion, honestly, because again, I do think consternation comes when there's not understanding, is to bucket it, right? So the buckets would be, stuff we need to live, sewer, water, underlying infrastructure, right? And then maybe the things that facilitate growth,
yeah.
right? And then maybe the things we all love, pickleball courts, I guess. And I don't do pickleball, but I know, I'm gonna get kicked out. But,
I don't either.
oh, okay, we're gonna get kicked out together. So I think, but I think you should bucket it so that it's visible that like, these are the things we have to do, because we need to retain our infrastructure. And then here are the things that would be great for growth and to attract people to the island and its amenities, whatever that looks like. We're going to get some return on investment somehow, we think. And then the other things are sort of the amenities just that are nice to have in any place we live. And so that way you're bucketed out the priorities and people can visually see that, oh, well, yeah, we really do need, clean water.
A question. Do you
Sure?
do you do that by fund, or do you do it by?
I think you do it by project.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do it by project because again, you're doing that.
No, I understand.
No,
You have to
but
do it by
water and
project,
sewer's gotta
but
be in the water sewer
Do you have
fund.
a capital project budget for water and sewer? Do you have a capital
Yeah.
budget
Oh, I'm
project
just
for,
kidding. Yeah.
you probably have a capital project budget by fund, I would think, because the funding will come
Well,
through those.
Could be
You
blended
definitely
though.
would have to put
It's braided.
water sewer projects in a water sewer fund, right? I mean, you
Well, I
can't,
think it's two different view, right? Because
Yes.
you have a
what I'm
project
saying.
view, and then you have a fund view. I mean, it's because under the fund, you have all these projects. Okay, so the fund you can divert, I have 10 different projects under that fund, all the fund goes to that. But what we're trying to get at is right now is trying to get a better understanding, not just for us, right? For the public, for the board, is for them to make decisions, or even for the public to vote on it, is to see. So as I'm listening to all of you, I'm trying to picture in my head. I'm trying to create this and say, okay, what
I wanna wait for it.
what would I see, that easy to understand? I don't need to ask 10 different questions. So what is this for? Where is it coming from? And so it all depends on what we're looking at. If you want the project view, then
Yeah.
if you look at from the fund, I think it's very, very confusing because we're one fund, you can have like 20 different projects under that fund. I'm gonna get 5,000 here, that list could go on and on. But, like, you know, what we just talked about, you have projects that is must-have. Okay, that is gonna affect your life here if you don't have it. Those are must-have. So it doesn't matter. We're gonna have a budget for those. Those are forever. I mean, then you I'm sorry about that. But then you have the nice-to-have. Okay, and the other are just, you know what? If we have any extra, then it'll be
For
good. We
opportunity.
have a flower pot out there. I mean, that would be nice. But the must-have is affecting all our lives here. That if people don't have, like you said, don't have water, guess what? I bet you all the houses is gonna come. They're gonna complain. Okay, that's a must-have. You don't have all the or Ocean Boulevard or whatever, something gone wrong with it. You can't pass. You know what? You're gonna hear about it. Those are must-have. So you don't even have to. But the capital project, I was trying to, as I was listening to it, it's like it's very much like when we do a project plan. Okay, this is the project. We have all these steps. Each step, how much it costs. You pretty much had to funnel through. You can see it. It could be a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. But if you have that project in there, you have all these steps to get to your finished product, right? Your finished project. The funding could be coming, I don't know, it could be coming from your tax revenue, could be coming from your grants or whatever. But that allow people to say, okay, this project we can accomplish in 10 years, but these are the things, or these are the funds, the money, where it will come from to support that. I think it's a different view. For you that work with the funds day in and day out, you know exactly where the money comes in. But for people to have interest in the town, right, in the budget, for her, maybe the most important thing is the water. I don't, or sewer.
Yeah.
For me, it would be, if I can't shower, I don't have, or whatever, and so every one of us is going to come with an interest. But if we can you can highlight those projects, then we can go directly into it, and it's like, I want this, but somebody else said, well, you want this, you're going to have to give up this. So it's then you have all the interest group that they can focus on what, where, because from a fund view, it's hard.
Yeah, it is from a fun view.
Yeah,
I'm
from
trying
a
to,
fund view, it's hard.
you could even just color code it. That's all I'm thinking.
Yes.
Maybe you even just color code it for
Yeah.
second, third,
But on the other, for me, I've been on both sides, right? I've been on the auditor side and also been on the private, so for what we're putting on you, is that gonna be extra work, low, or, that is where you're gonna have to, because for us, it's easy, right?
Staffing is an issue,
Yeah, no, for us, it's easy to ask for it, but what it is, I've been in where when I have to prepare for a board meeting, I work, the whole week, the 24 hours. Guess what? The next day, they don't even look at what I prepare for, I have been in that boat many times. So I want to put myself in your shoes. At the same time, what we, of course, we would like to have all the information at our fingertip at all times. But what is doable, or what it is,
Yeah.
it's feasible, that is from you to report back to it. To voice your concern that what maybe we can meet somewhere that is, because we're coming in, how can we provide information to the public that's easy to understand? That was one thing for me. I had no doubt. Your staff, you're doing a fantastic job. But now, as from the other side, is when I try to understand the information, I actually have no idea where to go. Because for me, there may be some specific information or just easily understand. I believe, Tim's view is like, with the project, if I have interest in a project, I just want to go to that project. I want to see.
Yeah, and I do think that's very doable, what we talked about with the capital improvement
Okay.
plan. I think that will help the public really understand
Yeah.
And connect, make the connection.
Yeah,
Yeah. Grace, what if you had the description, the projects by fund, the cost by fund, the funding mechanism by fund, prioritized in that fund, and then you send it to the big picture, so you said both views, right? Then you send it to the big SIP,
Yep.
and then, yeah, we have all these projects we need to do for water, but how do they relate that we need to do for the other funds that we need to do? So then you prioritize it when you bring it all together
yeah.
in a consolidated view.
Yeah, let me, catch me if I'm kind of wrong on this, but it's really, in my mind, the general fund runs the town, and ad valorem taxes come in, we pay the salaries, we pay the police, we pay, but there's not a lot of projects in there, that's just, you're
Right.
running the town.
Right.
Water and sewer, I think, is pretty well defined, that it should pay, it's a business fund, so
Yeah,
it can't make a profit. It can get subsidized by the town, but it cannot subsidize the town, so you can't make a
But it has
profit.
to
water
pay for
sewer.
its own profit.
But it's
own
gotta pay for
projects, right?
itself.
So if you want a new water tower, it comes out of that fund?
That's exactly right. The new sewer station comes out of that fund. It's very,
And we do have 2 capital reserves for the sewer fund, but
Right.
right now, those
Let's
are
just
very
make them that up.
limited. They are limited, one of them's sewer, and one of them's just for sewer expansion, one of them's water, one of them's just for water service expansion. So, they have to increase capacity. And right now, the fees are relatively low.
They are.
Yep.
And, yeah, if we want to fund a water tower, that water fund's gonna have to, that fee's gonna have to increase.
Right.
yeah. So it's a business fund.
So there's
You can
decisions to be
pretty-
made by
yeah.
fund.
And then the B part's the big one,
Yeah.
in my mind, because that's where all the projects are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's where,
all the ad valorem the occupancy taxes come in, and I think parking's coming in there now too.
correct.
So that's really what we're talking about from a project's perspective,
Yeah.
is the B park stuff. And, yeah, I mean, we could have a terrible year, there could be a hurricane wipes out our
Right.
rentals and the occupancy tax. It's not a given, right now,
Right.
it's significantly more than ad valorem, I think.
Right.
So it's, and then you add parking in there, so there's a ton of money in there, and that to me is the concern, it's like, what's the best use of this money? I mean, it wouldn't be the sewer station. I
And
mean,
part of that depends on your view of the risk.
yeah, and the only real must-do that we had last year was the ADA stuff, because we went into arbitration, we had an arbitration, we had to do
Right.
those projects, or we
Right.
were legally in trouble, so.
Right.
Everything else in there was not a must-do, I mean, and there's certain restrictions on it because it has to be,
Well-
it's certain, spent on certain ways, and part of it's gotta be beach, and part of it's gotta be recreation, part of it's gotta be sand.
I know we have to be out of here before too long, but let me just ask this question about that sewer lift station. I don't know all the details around it, but
I don't know any.
that was something we had to do. We said,
It's a risk
So we were gonna
decision.
spend the money, we were gonna spend the $5 million or whatever it was, $3 to $5 million, regardless of whether or not we got the funding.
That is correct.
Okay.
I mean, I remember that meeting where
So that's-
that decision was made, and then the funding came back, it didn't get executed.
See, you head some of that off with this capital budget project. You
Yep.
can head some of that, you can get ahead of it anyway. I mean, I think the
Because
challenge
then
now is
people
to get
know.
ahead of all of that.
Yeah.
Because you're chasing it. Right now, you're just chasing it. It's
Yep.
here, it's there, it's wherever.
Yeah, I
And it's
believe
the
Christie-
capital projects that are creating the angst.
And I believe, thankfully, Christie has a good update for us as a board team, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Don't steal her thunder, don't
That's
steal her
That's just an
thunder.
that's just one of the examples that I would
Yeah.
use in all of this.
Yeah,
Does
because
that
there's stuff
change?
you are gonna have to do anyway, right? Whether or not you get other revenue for it or not, it's gonna
Yep.
have to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we got 5 minutes.
Okay.
Going back then, to these KPIs, do we want to look at these anymore? Or- I think the capital is, to me, is much,
Yeah.
That's
More-
the issue.
I think I'd
Okay.
focus on that for the next year, Tom, is what we're meaning. I would focus
Okay.
on, I mean, you can always get the KPIs, you can get a dashboard, all those
Yeah.
other kinds of things. But based on what I've reviewed, the town runs pretty, they know kind of what the expenses are gonna be year to year. There's not a lot of variation in it. And you know what the revenues are gonna be, and there's not a lot of variation in it.
Right.
So, yeah, you do want a dashboard, you do want the KPIs at some point in time, but my focus would be on the capital projects.
okay. Okay.
Did you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I 100% agree with it, because
Okay.
I think it makes things clearer, and then when you know, there are times you don't have to make such hard decisions, but then when you have to make hard decisions, people understand, oh yeah, we did have to do this, we've been talking about it for 4 years, and we lost the funding, but we're gonna have to move other funding, you know what I
Yep.
mean? It just keeps it in front,
Yeah.
and,
I think the
No.
KPIs are nice to have.
but they're
you
not
know,
have to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they, but at this point, if we put all our effort and just try to get everything that we want to accomplish, we might not end up doing such a good job.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
focus on what we need
Okay.
what is necessary at this point, like must have to help us to, get to the point that where we have a good handle of things, then the KPI would come in handy, I believe.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah, agree.
So we're gonna figure out when the capital, the SIP's gonna be in the budgeting meeting, and then
We'll do a calendar call.
and try
We'll
to,
figure that out.
something, ideally, we do this before, and we can use a plan
Yeah,
for the,
that'd be great.
okay, yeah, yeah, okay. Any other
Sounds good to me.
items?
Preferably, what did you say, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks before, I mean, and like I said, I think we're probably getting close to it. I haven't seen any dates.
Probably gonna be a pretty quick calendar call.
Yep, yep, so,
Okay.
yeah, what's the best way to do it? To give you the available dates, or I know somebody's been pushing, and I've used them before, there's some.
Sign Up Genius
I
is
was
always
gonna
easy.
say, I had someone send me one of those, and that seemed to work really well.
Yeah.
I've used them before, where
Yeah.
it does the meshing,
Yeah.
Because everyone
It
just
takes
email
care of it.
availability is,
yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
okay,
it's frustrating.
okay. Well, maybe if you can set that up, because we can give you availability kind of now, and then, you know, we'll see where the budget meeting falls.
Yeah, and the
but,
earlier we can get it, the easier it is to hold in the calendar, of course.
Yep, yep, you can work
You are
around it then,
correct.
yep. Okay, anything else, or,
I move to adjourn.
okay,
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you very much, I thought this was great,
very helpful.
very helpful.